All right. What's going on, everybody? It's Dan, Moonshine, back with another Moonshine talking. How you doing? I'm doing all right. Can't really complain. Just got back from the mall a little while ago. I had to go get a calendar because I picked up a calendar, but due to some logistical mishaps and miscalculations for my company's Christmas party and Secret Santa giveaway, I wound up having to give up the calendar that I did get for myself to give to my GM because I had purchased gifts for the entire staff with the exception of her. And rather than wait till the last minute to try to find something or order something, have to deal with shipping delays and all that, I said, you know what? She likes spooky, scary stuff. She also said she needed a calendar. The horror movies are scary. This is a calendar. It'll work. So I figured I'll go back to the bookstore to Barnes and Noble, try to find it again. They didn't have it, so I went to the mall because there's a place there where they primarily sell calendars and puzzles and stuff like that. So I figured I'll try to get that, and if it's not there, I'm sure I'll find something cool. So I didn't find that. Ironically, I found another calendar that was at the bookstore, and I probably should have got her that one because she would have liked it just as much. It was one of those like twisted something or other, and it had like the Audrey 2 was eating kids, and there was a Sasquatch, and next to it said "Eat your greens," and there's a bunch of scout kids in green outfits. So, you kind of get the idea of what I forget what brand that is, but I see people wearing those shirts all the time where it's like Necronomicon stuff and all sorts of like kind of like quirky, dark and evil, but it's all based on like 1950s poster art kind of deals. So if anyone knows what that is, I'm sure you'll let me know. But yeah, that probably would have been better, and then I could have kept that calendar. But nonetheless, I found one, and this is what I went with. Went with a Cthulhu calendar. So I'll be looking at one of the ancient ones for the rest of the year. Oh, you don't need to see what I spent on that, but regardless, yeah. So I thought that was pretty cool. And then I had to get a little bit more workout gear because despite washing it regularly, a couple of my compression shirts are starting to get a little gamey. So I said, all right, I got to retire these things because they could knock a maggot off a gut cart. So so those had to go away. So I grabbed a new shirt. I think one of my coworkers is buying me another one for Christmas, so I'll at least have a couple new ones to replace the old ones. And beyond that, as I'm sure you've seen, I did a video breaking down Juggalo Championship Wrestling. It's about 45 minutes, so it's another long one. But if you have time and you're interested in hearing about that and hearing about the Insane Clown Posse's pro wrestling company and my thoughts on it, and me kind of like putting my Booker hat or, breaking down some of what psychology of the business from my opinion, then it'd be a cool little video for you to check out if you want. You kind of get a general idea of how my mind slightly operates when it comes to pro wrestling. But, because I know everybody is familiar with the fact that I used to wrestle, but I don't really talk deeply about pro wrestling. But if you give me something to talk about, then I'll chew on it for a little bit, and then I like to think sometimes I have a good idea here and there, and that's not just wrestling, but in
That deep.
general. So anyhow, the reason I'm here is I'm doing an album review, my final one of the year, and the album that I'm reviewing is the latest from Chicago, Illinois, Black and Death band, Blood of the Wolf. This is number five, Indomitable. You can see that right there. There's the there's the back. You can check that out. This came out as I'm recording it. It's the 19th. It came out Friday, December 19th. There's the insert. Really not too much to it. That's the disc and the final insert, which is same as the back. But yeah, man, this came out, if you didn't see on the back cover, this came out on Horror Pain Gore Death Productions, Philly, Pennsylvania based company, record label. they've put out some decent releases this year. Ancestor of Chaos's Animal Ritual is one. I've discussed that on my black metal recommendations video. And they've done stuff with Schlack, pro wrestler, he's a deathmatch guy, and he's got a band called Eat the Turnbuckle. Very cool grindcore stuff. And they do a lot of black metal, a lot of death metal, thrash, punk, gore grind type stuff. So it's definitely a cool label that if you're not familiar with, go check them out. And yeah, this is no exception. This is, as the Roman numerals would indicate, this is Blood of the Wolf's fifth album, and it's pretty good. I enjoyed it. I'll admittedly, I did not like it at first. I was not familiar with the band. I saw the single based on the fact that I got a notification on my Bandcamp through HPGD, and I checked it out. I liked it, and I said, "All right, let me go see and see its pre-order when it's coming out." I was like, "All right," and then I saw it was limited to 100 copies. So I was like, "Oh well, do I? Don't I?" I said, "You know what? I'll get it." I went and I listened to number 4, A Declaration of War, and I really enjoyed that. So I said, well, if between the single and the last release in 2022, if any of this sounds similar, then I'm going to enjoy it. And there's only 100 copies, so let me just go ahead. So I pre-ordered it. It showed up, I want to say, it showed up yesterday. No, I'm lying to you. It showed up today, but I got the digital release yesterday. So I was able to listen to it at the gym and listen to it here once or twice, listen to it at the gym again, listen to it last night. And yeah, it did come here because I was listening to it last night. And yeah, it's fantastic. You get to see how my mind works, how it dies and glitches out periodically, and I forget things. That's always wonderful. But yeah, it's 8 songs. I don't remember the exact runtime of it. I didn't write it down or anything, but this is fantastic. If you're a fan of any sort of Black and Death, like think Belphegor, God Dethroned, Vader was another good one, even though they're not so much, excuse me, they're not so much blackened death as much as they're more straight up death metal. But that's one of the first bands that I thought of when I could, as far as influences that I could hear in the music. It's definitely stuff right up your alley. I would even say this kind of veers close to Destructor type of war metal, and which is interesting, seeing as both albums are called, their most recent releases are both called Indomitable. So I thought that was kind of interesting, but maybe it was only interesting to me for whatever reason, but whatever weird reason. As far as well, I'll get into songs in a second, but the band itself, they're a 4-piece. But right now, I don't have any information related to who the drummer on this album was, because the last known drummer for the band, I believe, was a guy named Rick Hernandez. He was either doing, or no, it was Dave something or other. It was Dave. What the hell's his name? It started with an S. His last name started with an S, but I'll have to look it up real quick. His last name was His name is Robert Paulson. His name is Robert Paulson. No, it's Dave Swanson was his last name. Uh, but yeah, the band itself, it is Mike Caniglio on vocals and guitar. Frank Garcia is their lead guitar. Christopher Grimes is the bass player. And in this picture here, that last gentleman, that's Rick Hernandez, although I don't quite know if he did the drumming on this album. I don't know if Dave did it, but either way, the drumming is excellent on this. It's ferocious and nonstop. The blast beats, the snare hits, just the ferocity of every bit of it. There's chuggy riffs throughout this entire thing. The vocals are growly and menacing, and this is just an unrelenting from start to finish. From Tempest of Putrefying Fire. Indomitable, the title track, which closes out the album. This album is just it's brutal the entire way through. It just doesn't stop. It's all gas, no brakes. It does not take its foot off of the gas. Goes right for the jugular and doesn't let go. Probably my favorite songs on here. The first one's really good. Extinction Eclipse is good. I really like Glory to the Gods of War. Uh, Baptized in Fire and Combat is excellent, excellent stuff. Flesh for the Warfather. It's great. I mean, I really enjoyed this album. Um, it doesn't stop the whole thing. But even with that, because this is what where I was saying. I think I said this earlier, but if I didn't, the first time I heard it, I really wasn't. It wasn't. I wasn't feeling it. It wasn't resonating with me. And then I sat down and listened to it a couple more times, and there were spots where it just started clicking, and you start hearing like even throughout all the because sometimes with stuff like this, for me at least, it can start becoming white noise where it's just so blistering throughout that if it's an entire album of nothing but and there's no real dynamics to it, it can just start to become, as I've said many times before, it just becomes an endurance test to where it's like, oh, okay, this is all right. Is there anything else? And actually, if I do the video that I'm talking about, as far as the controversial one. There's actually something I did want to talk about related to that somewhat, as far as new music versus old music. It kind of ties in, but I heard something recently and it was just like, ugh, man, I just can't. It's too much. Like, I can't listen to this for an entire album, but at least with this one, fortunately, you got to listen to a little bit more and you hear little accents with little lead riffs or little lead accents that get done, and it's like, oh, all right, this is cool. And then I started like paying more attention to it, and it was like, and then you can start getting into it and start then you start getting some toe tapping moments versus it's just where your body just feels like it's electrocuted or you're hulking up or whatever. But yeah, man, a fantastic release. Very cool. I actually reached out to the band to try and answer some of the questions that I have about who did drums. Can you find lyrics for this? Any stuff like that, and let them know I was doing a little review on it. But yeah, man, go check it out. If you can't get a copy of it, if you're not interested in getting a copy of it, then at least go check it out. Go check out Horror Pain Gore Death Productions. They're a fantastic label. And yeah, that's that. Go check out some of their earlier stuff too. I'm going to be picking up number 4 pretty soon. So I really enjoyed that one. That's another good one. If you like this, if you go listen to it and like it, go check out number 4, Declaration of War. I'm going to keep going backwards in the discography, listening to 3, 2, and 1, and seeing how they sound, seeing if the sound changes or it just stays this level of brutality. They mostly, like, I should probably be remiss without saying this. Thematically, they mostly talk about warfare and, like I said, gods of war, warfather, uh, stuff like that. These are themes that run throughout. They're concurrent throughout their releases. So it's lots of warfare and battlefields and brutality on the battlefield, stuff like that. So that's probably the most recurrent theme. It's not lots of there's death, doom, and destruction, but not in the sense of the prototypical metal sense. There's no demons or anything like that. It's just straight up war, war and war worship, I guess would be a good way of saying it, but not so much in the specific like we do like certain bands where we're picking certain time frames like World War One or World War Two or stuff like that. It's just straight up war, just war throughout the ages. So it's pretty cool. And also, I will say at the end here, the artwork on this was done by Ryan Saputra. Saputra or Saputra? You have to forgive me, Ryan. I'm a hillbilly. I barely speak English correct half the time. So, yeah, but he also goes by Blinding Faith on Instagram. And this album was dedicated to Max Kalunga, excuse me. And yeah, so definitely go check this one out. Number 5, Indomitable by Blood of the Wolf. Black and Death. If that's the sort of thing you like, this is the sort of thing you're going to like. All right, so that's it. I'm Dan. This has been Moonshine Talking. Everybody, stay sick, stay heavy, stay brutal. Always tuck your chin upon impact. Don't forget to breathe. Have a good one. If I don't see you before then, have a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, and I will catch you on the next one. Later.